Imagine walking into your pantry tonight. You open the door. Everything looks normal. Shelves are full. Cans are stacked neatly. Boxes are lined up. Nothing seems unusual. Now imagine someone quietly removes just 10 things. Not half your pantry, not every shelf, just 10 ordinary items. At first, you probably wouldn't even notice. Then breakfast arrives. Lunch follows. Dinner comes around. And suddenly, meal after meal becomes harder than it should be. That's the strange thing about a good pantry. The most important foods usually aren't the expensive ones. They aren't the foods sitting at eye level. They aren't the foods people proudly show off. They're the quiet pantry staples. The foods doing hundreds of small jobs every year without anyone giving them much credit. Until they're gone. And then you realize just how much you depended on them. The first pantry item almost everyone underestimates is cooking oil. People rarely think of cooking oil as food. They think of it as an ingredient. Something you pour into a pan without even looking at the bottle. Then one day it's gone. Suddenly roasting vegetables changes. Frying eggs changes. Cooking potatoes changes. Making pancakes changes. Even simple rice dishes feel different. That's because cooking oil doesn't just help cook food. It improves food. Texture changes. Flavor changes. Everything becomes a little harder without it. One bottle quietly supports hundreds of meals every year. Most people don't appreciate that until they're trying to cook without it. And then they realize one inexpensive bottle was doing far more work than they ever imagined. The second item is salt. This one sounds almost ridiculous. Who worries about salt? Almost nobody. Until it's gone. Think about every meal you've eaten this week. Soup, eggs, potatoes, pasta, rice, chicken, vegetables, bread. How many of them contained salt? Probably almost all of them. Not because people want food to taste salty, because salt quietly brings everything else to life. Without it, familiar meals suddenly taste unfinished, flat, bland. People often assume they'll simply get used to it. Sometimes they do. Most of the time, they just enjoy their meals less. And that's why salt has remained valuable for thousands of years. Not because it's expensive, because a tiny amount changes almost every meal. That's an incredible return for one of the least expensive items in any grocery store. The third pantry item is canned tomatoes. Walk into almost any kitchen and you'll probably find at least one can hiding somewhere. Most people forget it's there, until they need it. Tomatoes quietly support an astonishing number of meals. Pasta sauce, chili, soup, stew, rice dishes, casseroles, beans, even homemade pizza sauce. One simple can becomes the foundation for dozens of different recipes. That's what makes canned tomatoes so valuable. They aren't usually the meal. They're the ingredient that makes the meal possible. And once you've cooked with them regularly, their absence becomes surprisingly noticeable. People don't usually run to the store because they want canned tomatoes. They run because dinner suddenly doesn't work without them. That's a very different type of importance. The fourth item is oats. There's a reason oats appear in almost every practical pantry. Not because they're trendy, not because they're expensive, because they quietly solve breakfast over and over again. One container becomes dozens of meals. Hot oatmeal, overnight oats, granola, baking, smoothies, even homemade snack bars. Very few breakfast foods stretch as far. People often spend large amounts of money on breakfast cereals that disappear within days. Meanwhile, one large container of oats continues sitting patiently on the shelf, waiting to solve another morning. That's why experienced shoppers rarely overlook them. They understand that breakfast isn't won by excitement. It's won by consistency. And oats provide consistency better than almost any breakfast food available. The fifth pantry item is peanut butter. People usually think about sandwiches. That's only the beginning. Peanut butter becomes breakfast, lunch, snack, dessert, quick calories, protein, comfort food. Spread it on toast. Mix it into oats. Eat it with apples. Add it to smoothies. Put it on crackers. Or simply enjoy a spoonful when you're in a hurry. Very few pantry foods ask so little while giving so much. No cooking. Very little preparation. A long shelf life before opening. And enough versatility to appear in meals throughout the entire day. That's why people consistently underestimate it. Until the jar is empty. Then suddenly the pantry feels incomplete. Not because peanut butter is glamorous, because it quietly became part of daily life. The sixth pantry item is flour. Most people only think about flour when they're baking. That's exactly why they underestimate it. Flour isn't one food. It's hundreds of foods. Bread, pancakes, biscuits, flatbreads, pizza dough, muffins, cookies, thickening soups, making gravy. One inexpensive bag quietly creates possibilities throughout the year. People often fill their pantry with finished products. Experienced pantry builders also buy ingredients, because ingredients create flexibility. A bag of flour isn't just breakfast. It isn't just dinner. It's options. And options become incredibly valuable whenever grocery trips become less frequent. The seventh pantry item is honey. Honey has an interesting reputation. Many people think of it as an optional extra, a luxury, something nice to have. Then they run out. Suddenly, breakfast feels different. Tea feels different. Toast feels different. Plain yogurt feels different. Oats become less interesting. Honey quietly improves dozens of ordinary foods. That's what makes it valuable. Not because anyone needs honey to survive, because it makes simple meals enjoyable. People consistently underestimate morale in the kitchen, until repetitive meals arrive. That's when a little sweetness suddenly feels much more important than expected. And the next three pantry items might be even more valuable, because unlike honey or flour, they're used so often that most people don't even realize how dependent they've become on them. It's funny how people notice some things immediately. If the milk runs out, everyone knows. If there's no bread, someone mentions it. But there are other pantry items that quietly disappear into everyday life. You use them so often that you stop seeing them, until one day they're missing. Then suddenly dozens of meals become harder to make. That's why these next pantry staples deserve far more attention than they usually get. They're not flashy, they're not expensive, but they quietly hold an entire pantry together. The eighth pantry item is rice. If you walked through supermarkets around the world, you'd notice something remarkable. No matter the country, no matter the culture, no matter the cuisine, rice is almost always there. That isn't an accident. Rice has earned its place because it solves problems. It stretches meals. It fills people up. It pairs with almost anything. Chicken, beans, vegetables, soup, fish, eggs. Almost every protein works with rice. That's one reason people don't appreciate it enough. It's so dependable that it becomes invisible. Think about how many times rice quietly rescued dinner. You had leftovers but not enough to make a full meal. Rice solved it. You wanted to make soup more filling. Rice solved it. You needed a side dish because nothing else sounded right. Rice solved it. That's the hidden strength of pantry staples. They don't demand attention. They quietly make everything else work. Now imagine your pantry without rice for a month. You'd quickly discover how many meals depended on it. Not because rice is exciting, because it's incredibly useful. The 9th pantry item is canned beans. People often divide food into categories: protein, vegetables, carbohydrates. Beans don't fit neatly into one box. They're filling. They're versatile. They provide protein. They provide fiber. They work hot. They work cold. They work by themselves. They work inside larger meals. That's why beans quietly become one of the hardest working foods in any pantry. Open a can. Add seasoning. Dinner. Mix them with rice. Dinner. Add tomatoes. Dinner. Wrap them in tortillas. Dinner. Turn them into soup. Dinner. One inexpensive can keeps creating possibilities. The funny thing is that beans almost never become anyone's favorite food. Yet they're often the food people appreciate the most after they've run out. That's because usefulness creates appreciation. And beans are among the most useful foods you can buy. The 10th pantry item is coffee. Some viewers are probably smiling already. Others are wondering why coffee belongs on this list. Here's why. Coffee isn't just coffee. It's routine. Think about your morning. How many millions of people begin every single day the same way? The kettle goes on. The coffee is made. The day begins. Then imagine opening the cupboard and realizing there's none left. Suddenly, the morning feels different. Not dangerous. Not catastrophic. Just different. That matters more than people realize. During stressful periods, routines become incredibly valuable. Small routines create a sense of normality. Coffee does exactly that for millions of households. It's one of those pantry items people assume will always be there, until it isn't. And then the next grocery trip suddenly becomes much more urgent than expected. That's why coffee quietly earns its place in so many pantries. Not because people need coffee to survive, because they enjoy the routine it creates. Now step back and look at the entire list. Cooking oil, salt, canned tomatoes, oats, peanut butter, flour, honey, rice, beans, coffee. Notice something interesting? Nothing here is expensive. Nothing is particularly rare. Nothing requires specialist knowledge. These are ordinary grocery store items, the kind people walk past every week. That's exactly why they become so easy to overlook. People assume important things should look important. They expect valuable foods to come in expensive packaging, or have impressive marketing, or carry premium prices. Real life doesn't work that way. Some of the most valuable foods in your house are also some of the cheapest. Because value isn't measured by price. It's measured by usefulness. That's a lesson people often learn the hard way. Imagine trying to cook for 1 week without salt, without cooking oil, without flour, without rice, without beans. Every meal suddenly becomes harder. Not impossible, just harder. Harder to prepare, harder to enjoy, harder to vary. Those small inconveniences build on each other. And that's exactly why experienced pantry builders don't focus only on dramatic emergency foods. They focus on everyday foods. Because everyday foods solve everyday problems. Again, and again, and again. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing preparedness starts with buying unusual things. It usually starts with making sure the ordinary things never quietly disappear. That's a much more practical approach. And it's one almost anyone can follow. Because preparedness isn't measured by how much food you own. It's measured by how many problems your pantry can solve. The best pantry isn't necessarily the fullest pantry. It's the pantry that quietly supports your life every single day, without you even noticing, until something runs out. Then suddenly you realize just how valuable those simple pantry staples really were. And there's one final lesson hidden inside all of this. A lesson that completely changes the way people look at their pantry once they understand it. Imagine opening your pantry one final time. Everything is exactly where you left it. The rice, the flour, the beans, the coffee, the oats. Nothing has changed. Now ask yourself a different question. Which of those items have you used in the last month? Not the foods you bought because someone online recommended them. Not the foods you bought because they were on sale. The foods you've actually reached for. Again, and again, and again. That's where the real value of a pantry begins. Because the strongest pantry isn't built around the foods that sit untouched for years. It's built around the foods that quietly earn their place every single week. That's what separates an ordinary cupboard from a truly dependable pantry. The items we've talked about don't just store well. They solve problems. And that's why people miss them so much when they're gone. Let's think about breakfast. Without oats, mornings suddenly become more expensive. You start relying on cereals that disappear quickly, or bakery items that need replacing every few days. One simple container of oats quietly prevented all of that. Now think about lunch. Without peanut butter, quick meals become harder. Without canned tomatoes, dozens of recipes suddenly disappear. Without flour, baking becomes impossible. Without rice, leftovers don't stretch nearly as far. Without beans, simple meals lose one of their most affordable sources of protein. Each item removes a little flexibility. Each missing ingredient quietly shrinks the number of meals you can make. And that's the part people rarely notice. Pantry staples don't just add food. They multiply possibilities. That's a completely different type of value. One bag of rice isn't just one food. It supports dozens of meals. One can of tomatoes isn't dinner. It's the beginning of dinner. One bag of flour isn't bread. It's pancakes, biscuits, pizza, flatbreads, muffins, cookies, gravy, soups. The more you think about pantry staples this way, the more valuable they become. They're ingredients. And ingredients create choices. Finished meals usually create one choice. Ingredients create hundreds. That's why experienced cooks often spend more money on pantry basics than convenience foods. They know those basics quietly hold everything together. Another interesting thing happens when grocery prices begin rising. People start paying closer attention to what they actually use. Suddenly, impulse purchases become less appealing. People stop asking, "What looks good today?" They start asking, "What will I still be using next month?" That's an important shift. Because the foods that quietly support everyday life almost always outperform the foods that simply look exciting. Think about how often trends change. One year, everyone is talking about one product. The next year, it's something completely different. Meanwhile, rice is still there. Beans are still there. Flour is still there. Salt is still there. Those foods don't become popular because of social media. They become popular because generation after generation keeps discovering the same thing. They work. Grandparents bought them. Parents bought them. Today's households still buy them. That isn't nostalgia. It's proof. Proof that usefulness outlasts trends. Now imagine two shopping carts. The first cart is full of expensive convenience foods, frozen meals, single-serving snacks, ready-made products. Everything looks exciting. Everything feels modern. The second cart looks much simpler. Rice, beans, flour, peanut butter, cooking oil, coffee, oats, honey. At first glance, the first cart looks more impressive. But after several weeks, something interesting happens. The second cart keeps producing meals. Again, and again, and again. That's because pantry staples compound in value. Each ingredient supports another ingredient. Rice works with beans. Beans work with tomatoes. Flour works with oil. Honey works with oats. Everything connects. It's almost like building with bricks instead of buying finished buildings. The possibilities become almost endless. And that's exactly why these foods have survived every change in grocery shopping. Supermarkets became larger. Packaging became brighter. New products appeared every year. Yet the same pantry staples quietly remained. Because they solved problems yesterday. They solve problems today. And they'll probably solve problems tomorrow. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking preparedness begins during an emergency. It doesn't. It begins during an ordinary grocery trip. When you choose foods that actually fit your life, foods you'll rotate naturally, foods your family already enjoys, foods that never become forgotten experiments sitting at the back of a shelf. That's the pantry most people actually need. Not the biggest pantry. Not the most expensive pantry. The most practical pantry. There's another lesson hidden inside this list. People often think they need more storage space, more shelves, more containers. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they simply need better priorities. 10 dependable pantry staples often provide more real value than 50 random products purchased because they looked interesting. Quality of planning almost always beats quantity of buying. That's true whether you're feeding one person or a large family. The goal isn't to impress anyone. The goal is confidence. Confidence that breakfast is covered. Confidence that dinner is covered. Confidence that unexpected situations don't immediately become stressful. Those simple feelings come from ordinary foods, not extraordinary ones. And that's what makes pantry staples so fascinating. They're almost invisible while you have them. Then one day you don't. That's when you suddenly realize how much work they were quietly doing. Cooking oil wasn't just oil. It was hundreds of meals. Salt wasn't just seasoning. It was flavor in almost everything you cooked. Rice wasn't just a side dish. It was the foundation beneath dozens of dinners. Coffee wasn't just a drink. It was part of your morning routine. Honey wasn't just sweetness. It was comfort. Beans weren't just protein. They were flexibility. Flour wasn't just baking. It was possibility. That's why these 10 pantry items deserve so much more appreciation than they usually receive. Because when they're sitting quietly on the shelf, nobody talks about them. Nobody posts pictures of them. Nobody gets excited about buying another bag of rice or another container of oats. But when they're gone, everyone notices. And that's probably the highest compliment any pantry item can receive. Not that people admire it while it's there, but that they immediately miss it when it isn't. Because the best pantry staples aren't the ones that demand attention. They're the ones that quietly make everyday life easier. Meal after meal, week after week, year after year. And those are exactly the foods worth keeping close.